turns out there are artifacts found in space that might just hint at extraterrestrial technology. From strange signals to mysterious objects orbiting Earth, these objects raise more questions than answers. Could they be remnants of advanced civilizations, tools for interstellar communication? We might just have evidence that we're not so alone after all. Tabby's star, officially known as KIC 8462852, is about 1,480 light-years away in the constellation Cygnus. It was first discovered in 2009 and became rather famous for its bizarre light patterns. Observations from the Kepler Space Telescope showed that its brightness fluctuated in strange ways, with some dips as high as 22%. Now, unlike most stars, Tabby's light changes were erratic and unpredictable. At first, scientists thought a planet might be causing the dimming, but the dimming patterns were just too irregular to fit that theory, so this led to some pretty wild ideas. I mean, some think the star's light could be affected by an uneven distribution of dust, which isn't exciting in the slightest, but some scientists put forth the idea that the dimming might be caused by some sort of massive structure surrounding it, specifically a Dyson sphere, built by aliens, which opens and closes, possibly being used to harvest energy from the star. And that is a pretty fun idea. There have been a couple curious rectangular shapes spotted on Mars, and rumors and conspiracies started to spread online about these things possibly being of alien origin. Discovered by the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter, this rectangular object, possibly a boulder, was captured in stunning detail from about 180 miles above the surface. The high-rise camera used for the photos has a resolution of about 1 foot per pixel, allowing us to see stuff we might not expect from just a rock on Mars. Then there's the Phobos monolith, located on Mars's moon Phobos. The massive rock is about 295 feet tall. Amateur astronomer Efren Palermo first spotted it while doing an extensive analysis of Martian images. The size and shape of the thing definitely make it stand out. It casts quite the shadow, giving it an almost imposing presence. The monolith has even come up in fiction. In Alastair Reynolds' 2012 science fiction novel Blue Remembered Earth, the monolith is explained to have been carved by astronauts into the likeness of a wrecked spaceship. But, are these monoliths visitors from the far reaches of space like in 2001: A Space Odyssey, or are they just large rocks? In 2020, astronomers detected a mysterious repeating radio signal coming from the direction of Proxima Centauri, the closest star system to our own. Proxima Centauri is about 4.24 light-years away and has at least one known planet, Proxima b, which sits in the star's habitable zone. The signal, which was detected by the Parkes Observatory in Australia, was pretty exciting. It was a narrowband radio signal, a type often released by artificial sources, so this meant, of course, that there was a possibility that whatever this thing was could have been a communication attempt from some sort of advanced civilization. The LISTEN science team at Berkeley SETI Research Center spent months analyzing the signal, though, and ended up determining that it was likely caused by interference from human technology. Likely, though. That still leaves a small possibility that it was caused by something else. Did NASA capture an image of a doorway on Mars, or is this just a natural formation? The image was captured on May 7th, 2022 by the NASA Curiosity rover. It clearly looks like some sort of entrance to me, even looks like there's a set of stairs beside it. But is this just a case of pareidolia? Well, unfortunately, I gotta say that's probably the case, but I mean, who knows? I'm not here to crush any dreams, I'm just here to present what I find and let y'all come to your own conclusions. And the same goes for this next one here. This is a cropped view of an image from the Mars Opportunity rover compared to a Neo-Assyrian attendant god statue from the British Museum. It's easy to see why people saw this rock and thought that it looked uncannily similar, because it looks uncannily similar. Did Martians visit Earth back in the day and return home with a souvenir? Were these sculptures actually inspired by stuff aliens brought to Earth and showed us humans? Both are fun ideas, but just like the mysterious doorway, are people's minds just playing tricks on them? The Black Knight satellite is an object that some believe is orbiting Earth, and that it's possibly an alien device of some kind. In 1899, Nikola Tesla detected mysterious signals while experimenting with his radio technology in Colorado. He thought the signals originated from the atmosphere, but soon realized they were actually coming from space. A few years later, an Italian inventor, electrical engineer, and physicist picked up similar signals, and Norwegian engineer Jørgen Hals noticed unusual radio echoes that took longer than expected to return. These echoes, known as long-delayed echoes, or LDE, are still unexplained. In 1973, a Scottish researcher by the name of Duncan Lunan claimed to decode messages coming from a mysterious satellite, saying it sent a star map directing us to the Epsilon Bootis star system. Then there's the STS-88 mission in 1998, where astronauts photographed what some believe is the Black Knight satellite. NASA, however, dismissed it as a loose thermal blanket. UFOologist Jax Valley has dug into supposed evidence of the satellite for decades, though, only to have his findings mysteriously confiscated. Some theorize that the Black Knight, if it really is hovering around up there, might be a time capsule from a lost, ancient, advanced civilization meant to preserve knowledge or technology, or that it's an ancient piece of alien technology that's been watching us for who knows how long. So, alright, I'm cheating with this one, but how about an artifact we've sent out into space in the hopes that it will be found by extraterrestrial life? And no, I'm not talking about sending out radio signals. I'm talking about actual physical objects called the Pioneer plaques. These are gold aluminum plaques that were attached to the Pioneer 10 and Pioneer 11 spacecraft launched in 1972 and 1973, respectively. They feature pictorial messages that include nude figures of a human male and female, along with symbols meant to share information about the spacecraft's origin and its creators. No better way to do that than just show them a nude image of you. The plaques were strategically placed to make sure they would be shielded from damage by space dust over time. The idea for the plaques came about when journalist Eric Burgess visited NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, spoke with Carl Sagan, who'd been advocating for communication with extraterrestrial intelligence. Sagan embraced the idea, and NASA approved it, giving him just 3 weeks to create a message. Working with astrophysicist Frank Drake, Sagan designed the plaque, and the artwork was crafted by his wife, Linda Salzman Sagan, with additional contributions from artist John Lomberg. Pioneer 10 was launched on March 2nd, 1972, followed by Pioneer 11 on April 5th, 1973. We haven't received a response yet, but hopefully if we do, it's a nice one. The WOW signal is one of the most famous and mysterious radio signals ever detected. It's still talked about to this day, even though it was first spotted way back in 1977 and has never been heard again. While working at Ohio State University's Big Ear Radio Telescope, astronomer Jerry R. Amon noticed an unusual strong signal while monitoring for extraterrestrial communications. The signal lasted for 72 seconds and appeared to come from the direction of the constellation Sagittarius. What made the signal so odd was, for one, it was around 30 times stronger than your typical background radio waves. Some started to think that the signal could have been a form of communication from an advanced civilization trying to reach out to us. Whatever it was, it stood out so much that Amon circled the readout and wrote "Wow" on the printout, giving it its name. There have been tons of attempts to detect it again, but it's only ever shown up that one time. Some researchers have speculated that it might have originated from a comet passing by Earth. Others still cling on to the alien hypothesis, though till this day we still don't know for sure. In 2017, astronomers spotted an unusual object zipping through our solar system, naming it Oumuamua, which loosely translates to scout in Hawaiian. Now, what was cool about this thing was that it's the first known interstellar object to pass by Earth. Oumuamua is unlike any asteroid or comet we've ever seen. We don't even know if it is one. It was about 1,300 feet long and shaped like a cigar. Its speed was also remarkable, traveling at around 196,000 miles per hour, which was too fast for it to be captured by the sun's gravity. And the thing's brightness fluctuated as it moved. Scientists expected it to behave like a comet, showing a tail of gas and dust, but there was nothing of the sort. So what exactly was this thing? Well, some researchers were actually saying that it could have been a piece of alien technology due to its weird acceleration and shape. Others said it was probably just a piece of rock, a fragment of a larger object ejected from its home system. But sticking with Oumuamua though, one physicist had some very interesting ideas about it. Avi Loeb is a Harvard professor and astrophysicist who believes Oumuamua isn't just your typical space rock, but might actually have been a piece of alien technology. He looked at its odd behavior, the fact that it seemed to be moving in a way we'd never seen before. Loeb proposed that Oumuamua could have been a light sail, a type of spacecraft that propels itself using the pressure of sunlight or starlight on its surface. This concept isn't just science fiction either. Researchers here on Earth are already looking into light sails as a way to explore space. If an advanced alien civilization existed, it's possible they could have built technology like this already. What's abundantly clear though, not just about Oumuamua, but about space in general, is that there are endless mysteries just waiting to be solved. Let's just hope we like what we find in the years to come. In 2023, something wild went down in Mexico's Congress. A well-known journalist and UFO enthusiast, a man you'll be hearing a lot about in this video, Jaime Maussan, showed up with what looked like two tiny alien bodies in glass cases. He claimed these mummified little guys were over 1,000 years old and not human. They had big heads, only 3 fingers per hand, and looked like they were pulled straight out of an ancient alien episode. According to Maussan, they were found near the Nazca Lines in Peru. Naturally, people freaked out. But scientists and experts started asking questions almost immediately. The National Autonomous University of Mexico stepped in and basically said, well, we carbon dated these things, we're not saying they're aliens, and that's where things got messy. Critics argued that the mummies might just be old human remains that were manipulated to look alien, like stitched together bones from different things. So far, no conclusive proof that they're legit aliens, but this is far from the only alien-related news to come out of Mexico. In July of 1991, Mexico City was home to one of the most talked about UFO sightings in Latin America. During a solar eclipse, people across the city were filming the sky, but some of these recordings showed more than just the moon passing in front of the sun. On several tapes, there was what looked like a metallic disc-shaped object hovering in the air. The footage that got the most attention came from a man named Guillermo Aragon, a television executive. He handed it over to journalist Jaime Maussan, who helped push it into the public spotlight. Once it aired, the response was immediate. Tons of people contacted the station saying they'd seen the same thing, and more videos started pouring in. Many showing a very similar object in the same part of the sky. The fact that there were multiple angles made it harder to write off as, a lens flare or a camera glitch. Even decades later, it's still considered one of the strongest mass witnessed UFO cases in history. This next one's more recent and a little more subtle, but still strange. In 2015, a video surfaced online showing what looks like an object floating motionless above Mexico City. It doesn't zip around or flash lights, it just sort of hangs there. What immediately sticks out about this thing though is the shape. It's been described as beetle-like. Not quite saucer-shaped, not a balloon either, definitely not the usual aircraft silhouette. The video was picked up by Scott Waring, a UFO blogger and self-proclaimed researcher who's known for analyzing sightings from around the world. He posted it on his YouTube channel and said the shape and movement, or lack thereof, caught his attention. Of course, drones were already pretty common by 2015, so some viewers said that's probably what it was, but there is something about how it floats. It's kind of heavy looking, but still, makes it hard to explain away so easily. Before the so-called alien mummies were wheeled into Mexico's Congress in 2023, they'd also made headlines 6 years earlier. In 2017, Jaime Maussan and a team of researchers presented similar-looking mummified bodies found near Peru's Nazca Lines. These specimens had the same elongated skulls, 3 fingers on each hand, and a skeletal structure that didn't quite match up with any known human remains, or so the claim went. Now, at first glance, it was the kind of thing that grabs attention. Strange-looking figures, supposedly ancient, and of course associated with the mystery of the Nazca Lines, an area already tied to all kinds of ancient alien theories. The bodies looked eerily alien, but the deeper you dug into it, the messier things got. A number of scientists and archaeologists again quickly raised red flags. They called it out as a hoax, saying these so-called aliens were likely made by combining real human bones with animal parts and synthetic material. In short, some people might have built them. It got so serious that the World Congress on Mummy Studies called this a crime on cultural heritage. They were not playing around. It wasn't just about whether aliens were real, it was about disturbing and possibly destroying ancient human remains for the sake of making a viral story. Still, there are people who believe that these were really aliens, that there was some kind of cover-up going on, which continues to go on, apparently. What do you all think, though? This one comes straight from the military, which makes it stand out from your usual eyewitness videos. In March of 2004, a Mexican Air Force surveillance plane was flying over the state of Campeche when its crew spotted something strange. Actually, 11 strange things. Using infrared cameras, they recorded multiple glowing orbs in the sky, flying at around 11,500 feet. The lights weren't visible to the naked eye, but they showed up clear as day on the infrared footage. What made this sighting even more intriguing was how the objects moved. They didn't fly in a normal pattern like a commercial or military aircraft would. Some of them even appeared to circle the plane. The pilots were clearly unnerved. The footage was eventually handed over to the Mexican Defense Department and they decided to release it to the public. That almost never happens. Once the video was out, Jaime Maussan got involved, again calling it solid proof of extraterrestrial visitation. It became a big story in UFO circles around the world. But as always, skeptics weighed in. Their main theory was that the glowing orbs were just flares from offshore oil rigs showing up as heat signatures on the infrared cameras. Still, the pilots insisted that what they saw and recorded didn't behave like any flares they'd ever seen, and the fact that the military made the footage public gave it a lot more credibility than your typical blurry YouTube clip. No matter how you look at it, this is one of the most well-documented UFO cases out of Mexico. Carlos de los Santos was a young, experienced pilot flying back to Mexico City. The skies were clear, everything was normal, and he was cruising along when suddenly he saw something out of the corner of his eye on the right wing. A metallic saucer-like object. Before he had time to process it, another one showed up on the left wing. Then a third came barreling toward him head-on, barely missing the nose of his plane. And then something truly horrifying happened. His controls were unresponsive. He couldn't steer, he couldn't descend, it was like the plane was just flying itself. Carlos radioed in, told air traffic control that he'd lost command of the aircraft and was being followed by unknown objects. He thought he was done for. But then, just like that, the discs vanished and the controls kicked back in. He safely managed to land back in Mexico City, shaken but alive. Aviation authorities even checked the plane afterward. No mechanical failure. Way before UFO sightings were trending on the internet, or even before planes existed really, we had Jose Bonilla, a Mexican astronomer who'd been trying to study the sun when something odd happened. In 1883, while observing sunspots from the Zacatecas Observatory, Bonilla noticed something strange. There were hundreds of dark shapes moving across the sun. Fast moving, oddly shaped, and all heading in the same direction. So he did what any astronomer would do. He started taking photos. Bonilla managed to capture over 300 of these strange objects in front of the sun using the technology of the time, which was basically a big old camera strapped to a telescope. He published his findings in a scientific journal, describing them as some kind of flying bodies. But he didn't say aliens or anything like that, he just logged what he saw. Over time, people came up with all kinds of theories. Some said it was just birds, maybe geese flying at high altitudes. Others said maybe meteors or debris. But here's the thing. How many geese are flying in tight formation that high up at a speed fast enough to cross the sun that quickly and do it all 300 plus times? It seems weird. Plus, I feel like this guy would have known, he would have seen birds up there before. He was always looking at the sky. Today, some UFO researchers point to Bonilla's photos as possibly the first photographic evidence of unidentified aerial phenomena, UAP. This one takes us back to 1997, peak VHS era, when a resident of the Las Lomas neighborhood in Mexico City filmed something bizarre floating in the sky. What you see is a metallic-looking disc-shaped object kind of wobbling around midair. Doesn't zoom off or flash lights, it just slowly drifts like it's cautiously observing. The camera operator is clearly shocked too. You can hear it in their voice. They're reacting in real time to something that genuinely doesn't look normal. Now, skeptics were quick to point out that the UFO looks like it could be suspended by a string, and yeah, the wobbliness doesn't help, but here's the thing, it's floating in open sky, far off in the distance. If this was some cheap hoax, it was weirdly well executed for the late 90s. Others think the wobble might actually be evidence for the thing being real. Maybe it was damaged, maybe it was malfunctioning. Whatever it was, it's still one of Mexico's more debated UFO clips. So this one's basically Mexico's version of Roswell. The story goes like this. On August 25th of 1974, a small civilian aircraft, a Cessna, disappeared near a town called Coyame, right along the US-Mexico border. Not long after, both Mexican and American military forces were spotted moving into the area. The reason? A supposed mid-air collision between that Cessna and something else. Something not from around here. According to different reports and whistleblower-style retellings, the Mexican military was first on the scene. They located 2 crash sites, one for the plane and one for the unknown object. Eerily, the recovery team that got to the UFO was later found dead, with no obvious injuries. The bodies were said to be removed by a convoy that mysteriously disappeared, possibly intercepted by American forces who crossed the border and took everything, including the craft. Of course, that's the wild version. The official story is that the Cessna was part of a smuggling operation and just simply went down, but some think there's just way too much smoke here for there not to be fire. Military convoys, radio silence, surveillance planes. Something weird happened out in the desert that night. And if the US did swoop in and grab the wreckage, well, it wouldn't be the first time. At number 1, we've got a UFO hotbed that's been capturing people's attention for decades. Popocatépetl, one of Mexico's most active volcanoes. It's a bit of an anomaly when it comes to UFO sightings. This towering mountain, standing at over 17,000 feet, sits in a seismic and volcanic zone, which has some thinking that maybe earthquakes and eruptions might attract UFOs. Maybe the atmosphere around the volcano creates these strange, unpredictable phenomena that seem out of place, and maybe aliens are just curious about what's happening down below. Either way, there's no shortage of sightings here. Witnesses have described seeing strange objects, sometimes appearing near the summit, and it's not just a couple of isolated reports. There are multiple photographs showing strange lights or craft in the area. And sure, some of these sightings might just be planes, drones, or natural stuff, but others remain totally unexplained. Mars is one of those planets that just won't stop teasing us. Between all the rover missions and satellite images, NASA's gotten a ton of data about the red planet, and yeah, some of it's pretty bizarre. Over the years, there have been some oddities people have pointed out, and some of them have even led to conspiracy theories about NASA possibly trying to cover stuff up. People have pointed out odd rock formations that kinda look like pyramids, or maybe even the ruins of a full-on city. If you ask NASA, these are just natural geological formations, but some think the space agency is just downplaying it all. So what if NASA really did find evidence of past alien civilizations on Mars? Why would they keep something like that a secret? Well, some think they're covering it up to keep control over the situation, to prevent mass hysteria. Could Mars be home to some kind of extraterrestrial life? Possibly even intelligent life? Hidden away in some secret location that's never been shown? We might just be scratching the surface with all those photos. Maybe there's more to the story that NASA's not letting on. This one's really weird. So the Black Knight satellite is an alleged alien spacecraft that's been orbiting Earth for thousands of years. Some people believe NASA knows exactly what it is, but has kept quiet about it. The conspiracy really took off in 1954, when Donald Kehoe, an American Marine Corps naval aviator, told the paper that the US Air Force had reported that 2 satellites orbiting Earth had been detected. At that time, no country had the technology to launch a satellite. But the Black Knight satellite story never went away, and it became a full-on alien cover-up conspiracy. The object is described as this artificial satellite, possibly of extraterrestrial origin, flying in orbit observing us. NASA has denied all knowledge of it, but some people point to radio signals picked up by satellites and astronauts' accounts of strange unidentified objects in space as proof that the Black Knight satellite is real. If there really is something floating around up there though, it could mean we've been under alien surveillance for a very long time, possibly tens of thousands of years. NASA's relationship with the UFOs is kind of this awkward, unspoken thing. For years, astronauts and scientists have reported seeing unexplained objects while in space. Some UFOs even make an appearance in official records, like when Apollo 11 astronauts reported seeing a flying saucer during their mission to the moon. NASA has always maintained a pretty grounded scientific approach when it comes to UFOs, saying things like we don't know what they could be, but we're studying them. They never provide any solid answers though, and maybe they just really don't have any, but that's not what some people think, including some who have been to space themselves. Astronauts like Edgar Mitchell, for example, the sixth person to ever set foot on the moon. Up until his death in 2016, he was pretty vocal about his belief that UFOs and aliens were real, and that NASA knew much more than they were letting on. So what is the deal here? Are they keeping secrets about extraterrestrial visits? Do they actually not have any idea what they could be, despite all the eyes they have on the sky? What do you think? Europa, one of Jupiter's moons, is a real hotspot when it comes to the possibility of alien life. NASA spent a lot of time talking about Europa because there's something under that icy surface, an ocean that could possibly be home to life. It's an exciting idea, but as of right now, we don't really know what's down there. Or do we? Some researchers believe NASA knows much more than they've let on. Europa's ocean is considered one of the most promising places to find life beyond Earth, so why is NASA so quiet about it? Could it be they've already discovered something under the ice? Some conspiracy theorists think NASA has already found signs of alien life in Europa's oceans, but they're keeping it under wraps. The whole situation is a bit fishy to some, especially with all the secrecy and the fact that missions to Europa keep getting delayed or altered. Could NASA be sitting on a major discovery, just waiting for the right moment to drop it? In 2017, the Pentagon confirmed it had been running a secret UFO program known as AATIP, the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program. The revelation caught a lot of people off guard, but NASA was likely involved, at least behind the scenes. AATIP's goal was to investigate unidentified flying objects and other unusual aerial phenomena, and some believe NASA was consulted about these findings. So what do they know? Well, NASA's remained pretty tight-lipped about their role, which has only added to people's suspicions that they're hiding more than just a few UFO reports. If the government was running a secret program to investigate UFOs, it's hard to believe NASA wasn't involved in some capacity. Did they find something in those programs that could change our entire understanding of alien life? Kepler, NASA's exoplanet hunting telescope, got a lot of people talking when it discovered thousands of potential planets outside our solar system. But that's not all. Some scientists believe Kepler has picked up signals that could be coming from extraterrestrial civilizations. If this is the case, well, the question is, are they coming from aliens intentionally trying to communicate? Well, who knows? NASA has downplayed these things, labeling the signals as noise or interference from natural sources, but others aren't convinced. They think NASA's purposely brushing aside these signals to keep the truth about alien life hidden from the public. Maybe they just don't want us to know that we're not alone in the universe just yet, still trying to figure out how to approach the situation. Even though they're the only people to ever go to space, astronauts are kind of the last people you expect to say they've had encounters with UFOs. I don't know what it is, but there is a surprising number of reports from space missions that do suggest otherwise. Gordon Cooper, one of NASA's original astronauts, claimed to have seen a UFO during the Mercury Atlas 9 mission in 1963. He reported a glowing object that seemed to follow his spacecraft before quickly disappearing. Cooper said the craft defied our understanding of physics, that it was far beyond the capabilities of any known technology at the time. He also said there was footage of this thing that was never made public. Then there's the Apollo 14 astronaut Edgar Mitchell, who's also publicly stated that extraterrestrials are real. Mitchell even went as far as to claim that the US government has knowledge of extraterrestrial life and has covered up its existence for decades. The most famous case comes from Apollo 11, with Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin allegedly seeing unidentified objects on the moon. There are rumors that Armstrong's comment during radio transmission about, quote, seeing something out there was a reference to an encounter with a UFO, though it was quickly brushed aside. So why would NASA, who are supposed to be the first to embrace and study new discoveries, suppress such groundbreaking encounters? If astronauts keep encountering UFOs in space, what are they really hiding from us? The Smithsonian Institution is one of the largest museums in the world, housing over 154 million objects. Among these, some argue, are alien artifacts, items that have been hidden away from the public eye. These artifacts are said to be kept in secret vaults, guarded by some of the most powerful institutions in the world, including NASA and the US government. The theory is that alien technology, or possibly even full-on remains of aliens, are housed here. One famous example comes from the 70s Viking missions to Mars, where some insiders claim that NASA found evidence of alien structures. According to these claims, fragments of alien technology were retrieved and then stored in places like the Smithsonian to be studied, but have never been made available to the public, of course. Now, some say the government is hiding this data to avoid panic or to maintain control over such groundbreaking information. Along with these space-related artifacts, there are other theories about strange objects found on Earth. We may never know the full truth, but the Smithsonian's massive, inaccessible archives certainly make it seem like there could be more to the story. The Apollo 20 mission is one of the most controversial and debated conspiracies surrounding NASA. Officially, Apollo 17 in 1972 was the last manned mission to the moon, but for decades there's been this rumor that there was a secret mission launched in the mid-70s to retrieve alien technology from the moon, Apollo 20. According to the story, NASA discovered this massive, ancient spacecraft on the lunar surface in the Bay of Rainbows region, and the Apollo 20 crew was tasked with exploring it. The crew reportedly found two humanoid bodies inside the ship, one alive, the other deceased, along with advanced technology that was far beyond what humanity had at the time, or even now. A man named William Rutledge, who claims to have been part of the crew, gave some pretty detailed accounts of the mission and even shared alleged video footage of the lunar craft and one of the alien bodies inside it. NASA consistently denied any such mission took place though. But the Apollo 20 theory has a loyal following. Some argue that the mission was kept secret because the discovery was part of a larger program to study extraterrestrial technology. For what purpose? Who knows? One of the most bizarre and frustrating mysteries surrounding NASA's Apollo missions is the alleged lost tapes. These are the original analog recordings of the lunar landings, including the famous Apollo 11 mission, which are said to have been erased or taped over at some point in the 80s. You're probably thinking, well, how on earth could they throw away something so historically important? Well, NASA claims it was just for practical reasons. Those tapes were expensive, they were reused for other purposes, but some conspiracy theorists believe the real reason behind the lost tapes is far more sinister. The tapes contained pristine, high-resolution recordings of the Apollo missions, including the first steps on the moon. If they still existed, they would have been priceless artifacts of human history. Instead, only lower quality copies remain, and NASA's explanation for erasing them has definitely raised more questions than answers. Was there something else on those tapes? Maybe? There have always been whispers that something was filmed during the Apollo 11 mission, something NASA didn't want the public to see. But if the tapes were really lost by accident, why did it take so long for NASA to give a clear explanation of what happened?
After the release of the photograph, multiple Marines came forward to confirm the existence of an aircraft, saying that while the photo showcases only the triangle-shaped formation of bright lights, in person the men were able to make out the black body of the aircraft as well. The unidentified flying object is said to have hovered for 10 minutes in the air before it suddenly vanished without any trace. The men were able to rule out flares for being the cause of the mysterious lights, but were never able to figure out exactly what they saw that night. night. However, it appears the footage has not been taken lightly, as the Pentagon has started an investigation into just what exactly was seen on the night of April 20th of 2021 in the skies above the 29 Palms military base. Next up, we have a series of photographs taken by cosmonaut Ivan Vanger in August of 2020 whilst aboard the International Space Station that appears to depict 5 unidentified flying objects flying at the same speed while maintaining the same distance between each other as well as their surroundings, moving in a straight line just above the Earth's curved horizon visible in the night sky. Vangar, both surprised and curious, took to Twitter, now named X, to share the footage in hopes of getting some clarity as to exactly what he was looking at. In an exciting unfolding of events, his tweet was picked up by the Russian space agency Roscosmos, and a spokesperson revealed that experts were in fact studying the video in an attempt to determine what exactly Vangar had managed to capture. Did you guys know that Japan was a major hotbed for UFO activity? Because I didn't. But apparently the Pentagon does? In fact, UFO sightings are so common in Japan that its military has reportedly ordered all pilots to disclose any and all identified flying objects directly to the Japanese government. Not only that, but Japanese self-defense forces have also undergone extensive training in relation to UFO sighting protocol. To date, 6 alleged encounters between pilots and UFOs have been reported to the Japanese government, one of which was recorded, and depicts 10 white circular balls flying through the skies of Osaka in Japan. While the government has yet to publicly comment on any of the incidents, the update of self-defense protocol alone is pretty telling. The next image was shared by a pretty reputable source, National Geographic. The image was captured by Sergio Loaiza on September 4th of 1971 during an aerial survey of Lake Kote. Everything seemed pretty normal until the photos were taken back to Loaiza's development lab, where he noticed something very strange. A metallic flying aircraft, estimated to have a diameter of 160 feet, was located in the corner of one of the photographs. When he presented the photos to his superiors at the National Geographic Institute, they shut him down quick, forbidding Sergio as well as his colleagues from sharing any information of what they had seen that day. In 1979, however, the photograph was leaked, and the object that appeared in the image was officially classified as an unidentified flying object. In 2021, the existence of the object was again confirmed after the original copy of the photograph was scanned, and it was revealed that the UFO's presence was more than just a scratch on the lens or a piece of dust in the wind. So what do you think it was? Let us know in the comments. Next up, we have footage that comes to us straight from the declassifieds. Remember how I told you at the beginning of the video that the government quite literally copped to the fact that they have been hiding the existence of UFOs for years? Well, they did, and they came with receipts. On the 15th of January in 2023, while surveilling an MQ-9 Reaper aircraft, an unidentified aerial presence was captured moving at speeds unreachable by any of Earth's modern-day technological advances. Not only this, but as the object whizzed through the field of view of the camera lens, it appeared to leave behind an atmospheric wake before disappearing completely into the sky. Guys, if you have any, please leave your UFO and alien stories in the comments. I would love to hear about your experiences with any of these kind of things. Next up, we have arguably the most beautiful alien-assuming photograph I have ever seen. The photo was taken in 2004 by a retired Royal Air Force officer while on vacation in Sri Lanka. The site was described as some kind of colorful giant donut in the sky with hues of oranges, pinks, purples, and whites. After its capture, the photograph was turned into the Royal Air Force Flying Dales Base in North Yorkshire in England, where it became a classified document held by the Ministry of Defense. The image has since been declassified, of course, and is now available for public viewing, but there is still a lot of mystery surrounding the photo as well as the photographer, as his identity, along with any other information regarding the incident, is pretty much non-existent. I mean, come on, it's a giant glowing light in the sky. You're really telling me no one else saw this and that there's no other information out there other than the fact that the photo exists? Oh yeah, and not only that, but it was deemed classified by the British Ministry of Defense, so I'm thinking there's something else going on here. Okay, I bet you didn't know that another major hotbed for extraterrestrial, UFO, and unidentified aerial phenomenon activity was Brazil. I mean, I did, but maybe you didn't. In fact, this kind of thing is so popular in Brazil that they have an annual day of recognition for these sightings known as the Night of the UFO, which came to be after a major event took place in 1986. On the night of May 19th, a series of unidentified flying objects were seen in the skies of Brazil, and even more non-visual objects were detected via radar across the skies of 4 Brazilian states. Of course, at this time, any and all knowledge the government had on the event was extremely classified. In May of 2012, however, Brazil's Freedom of Information Act went into place, after which the public demanded the release of all the documents relating to the incident. The government complied, and not only released written documents of the events, but also a series of photographs depicting strange activity within the skies above Brazil. Although the images of what appeared to be nothing more than squiggles and clouds of smoke didn't provide much clarity, a statement made by the Minister of Aeronautics did. He said, "This command is of the opinion that the phenomena are solid and reflect, in a certain way, intelligence, due to the ability to follow and maintain a distance from observers, as well as to fly information." After this statement was made, the Brazilian government has still not been able to confirm exactly what took place the day the night of the UFOs was born. Next, we have a photo taken in 1990 by 2 Scottish chefs who were working in a hotel near the area in which the photograph was taken. After a long day of work, it appears the 2 men had decided to take a hike in an attempt to blow off some steam. While this walk wouldn't end up being incredibly relaxing, it would be wildly exciting, as not long after the 2 men had set off on their journey along the Calvine Scottish countryside, they noticed something hovering above them in the sky. The object was not one that either of the men could identify, and so they pulled out their cameras in an attempt to document the 100-foot flying aircraft instead. The photos, which have been analyzed and show no signs of manipulation, capture the object being circled by a jet plane. They thought the incident was incredibly strange and even newsworthy, so the 2 turned the footage over to the local newspaper for publication, but the images were seized by the British Ministry of Defence and were never released. Until 32 years later, that is, by David Clark, who, unbeknownst to the ministry, had kept a photocopy of one of the original images. The identity of the 2 men was never revealed, nor did they ever come forward to share their story after the images had been seized by the ministry, begging the question of what exactly they saw and what exactly the government was trying to cover up. A photograph taken of an unidentified aircraft lit up by military spotlights in Los Angeles, California, is next on the list. The photograph, which documents an event so big it later became referred to as the Battle of Los Angeles or the Great Los Angeles Air Raid, was taken on February 23rd of 1942, just 2 months after the attack on Pearl Harbor. On the night the photo was taken, all of Los Angeles was under blackout, as directed by the US military. While the lights on the ground had been turned off, the sky above had been lit up by a myriad of strange objects. The military opened fire, and onlookers stood absolutely stunned as 1,400 rounds of ammunition appeared to have no effect on the unidentified flying object. Smoke filled the sky, and when it cleared, not a single craft was to be found in the sky or on the ground. Shrapnel that appeared to have ricocheted off the target resulted in the death of 5 civilians. Furthermore, 3 were killed in car accidents due to the chaos of the event, and 2 more of heart attacks due to the stress of the 2-hour-long attack. And finally, we have a handful of screen grabs from a video taken by Lieutenant Commander Alex Dietrich whilst flying an 18F Super Hornet fighter jet over the Pacific Ocean near San Diego during a training mission for the United States Navy. The footage, taken in November of 2004, was captured after Dietrich was asked to investigate a suspicious object that had been seen dropping from 80,000 feet down to the surface of the ocean and then vanishing. When Alex and their colleague arrived on the scene, the ocean's surface, where the object had been reported, appeared as though it was boiling. Moments after arriving to investigate, a strange, elongated white object came into view and was captured on video hovering above the water before it disappeared into the sky at an impossible speed, leaving no wake in the oceans below. While the footage has been confirmed to be authentic by the United States Department of Defense, the object itself, along with its origins, remains a mystery.
So we're starting off with a photo that was apparently lost for decades, but just resurfaced a few years ago. The Calvine photo, said to be one of the most convincing UFO photographs ever taken. On August 4th of 1990, 2 men who were working as chefs in a hotel in the Scottish Highlands decided to go for a walk that summer evening in the hills near Calvine. And in the middle of their hike, they spotted something in the sky. This big, diamond-shaped object hovering up there. Apparently it made little to no noise as well. It managed to snap this picture here. The hikers sent the image to the paper, but instead of printing it, the newspaper handed it over to the British Ministry of Defence, and they kept it under wraps until 2022, when British journalist David Clarke finally brought it back into the light. After digging for 13 years, Clarke, who teaches at Sheffield Hallam University, discovered that a former Royal Air Force press officer, Craig Lindsay, had a copy of the photo all along, waiting for someone to ask about it. Clarke also had his colleague Andrew Robinson, a photography expert, examine the photo. Robinson found no evidence of tampering or manipulation. So, is this flying object of extraterrestrial origin? Well, Clarke believes it is a genuine UFO, just maybe not an alien aircraft. He thinks it could be the rumored Aurora, a super secret spy plane supposedly built by the US in the 80s.
Next up on our list today, we have a series of photographs of real-life aliens found in 2017 in Peru near the pre-Columbian Nazca lines. Analysis done on the body of the aliens, named Clara and Mauricio, showed that they are at least 1,000 years old and that their genetic makeup is not of this world. Although the findings are controversial, that's to be expected, and widely disputed, also expected, many people believe that Clara and Mauricio are modern civilization's first look at real-life humanoid alien bodies, and they see the discovery as a major scientific advancement in relation to our understanding of extraterrestrial beings. The lead researcher on the case said that the bodies, with 3 fingers on each hand and elongated heads, were found with another, going by the name of Victoria, which was used to conduct the tests that determined the age of the bodies and the genetic material. In the report, lead researcher Musan also stated that Victoria had been carrying eggs inside of her, meaning that it was likely these creatures were able to reproduce offspring and that Victoria was getting ready to when she died. Whether or not the whole thing is a big elaborate hoax remains to be seen. However, despite harsh criticism coming from Musan's peers and the scientific community as a whole, he continues to maintain the validity of his findings, making this kind of believable.
Take a look at these wild photos. These are some genuinely unsettling images right here. There's a lot of mystery behind these pictures. There's still no definitive explanation for them. All we know is that the photos surfaced about 10 years back. Supposedly, they were taken from a US submarine traveling between Iceland and islands near Norway. Alex Mistretta, a paranormal investigator, started looking into these pictures after they popped up in a French magazine called Top Secret, following a supposed leak. The photos were allegedly snapped in March of 1971 through the submarine USS Trepang's periscope during a regular military and science mission. A guy named John Kalika first spotted the UFOs through the periscope. We don't know who actually took the images. The pics were shared to the public by Alex after he saw them in that magazine, and there were some curious notes on the back of one of the photos. It said official photograph, not to be released, CT, and another note that read unauthorized disclosure subject security certificate SSN 674 criminal sanction. I don't know, what do you guys think of these? Genuine, hoax? I mean, some of these images are pretty insane. I mean, if they weren't doctored in any way.
Next on our list today, we have the McMinnville UFO photographs taken in none other than Sheridan, Oregon, approximately 9 miles southwest of McMinnville by a local farming couple, Paul and Evelyn Trent. On May 11th of 1950, the pair spotted the strange objects in the sky and rushed to grab their camera. They then captured some of the most captivating UFO images to date. It was Evelyn who first noticed the alleged spacecraft hovering in the sky above the farm. She yelled for her husband Paul, who also confirmed the sighting and was the one to capture the images. Paul's father also claimed to have caught a glimpse of the object before it sped off into the sky. don't know why I did that. A third-party analysis confirmed that the photographs were not doctored and that they showed a real physical object in the sky above the Trent family farm, and that the object was sitting at a significant distance from the lens of the camera. So basically, it was proven that it wasn't just some kind of bug flying nearby the lens. Whether or not you believe in aliens, UFOs, or UAPs, you gotta admit these images are pretty cool.
In 2023, the Pentagon released footage that was taken in the Middle East the previous year. The footage was captured on July 12, 2022, with an MQ-9 Reaper drone. They're still not sure what this object is. The mysterious orb footage was shown to a congressional committee as part of a defense update on UFOs or UAPs. We can clearly see a small round object that looks like it's shimmering as it flies over houses and empty fields. Sean Kirkpatrick, who heads the Pentagon's All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, the AARO, mentioned that this footage is pretty much all the info they have on this thing. They don't know where it came from or what its purpose was. The Pentagon also disclosed that they were looking into over 650 incidents involving UFOs.
Next up, if we are going to do a video about real alien photos, I feel it's only right to include a photograph of the most famous UFO sighting and interaction to date, the Battle of Los Angeles, or the Great Los Angeles Air Raid, which took place on February 23rd of 1942, just 2 months after the attack on Pearl Harbor. The night the photo was taken, all of Los Angeles was directed to go under blackout by the US military. After all the lights on the ground turned off, the sky above LA was suddenly lit up by a large handful of strange, unidentified flying objects. The military then opened fire into the sky, and the public watched in utter shock as 1,400 rounds of ammunition fired at the airborne, seemingly extraterrestrial objects appeared to have no effect whatsoever. Smoke filled the sky, and when it cleared, not a single craft was to be found in the sky or on the ground. 5 civilians died after being hit by materials that appeared to have ricocheted off of the intended targets. 3 were killed in car accidents due to the chaos of the event, and 2 more died of heart attacks due to the stress of the event, which was 2 hours long in total. If this isn't legit, I don't know what is. That's pretty crazy.
Next up, we have some mysterious UFO footage that was taken in Wales. So in September of 2016, a police helicopter flying over the Bristol Channel in Wales around 9 p.m. spotted something in the sky. It was only visible on the chopper's thermal camera, cruising at about 106 miles per hour against the wind. Former cop Gary Haseline later released the full video footage, urging the UK government to come forward with whatever they knew about UFOs. Of course, they didn't. Police thought it could have been a drone at first, but the object was moving pretty fast. Faster than any known models at the time. Apparently the thing was picked up by local air traffic control and emitted heat. Haseline stated, "This is verified police helicopter FLIR footage showing an object not seen with the naked eye but clearly seen in the infrared spectrum. It is moving against the wind, so it is not a balloon, nor is it emitting any heat signature indicating a propulsion system."
Next up, we have a photograph taken on May 1st of 1952 at 7:58 a.m. by George Adamski, who claims to have seen multiple UFOs flying over his backyard in Mount Palomar during the 1940s all the way through to the 1960s. Although many renowned UFO experts have been unable to back his claims, Adamski maintains firm in his belief that he was able to capture not only this image of a cigar-shaped mothership flying in front of the moon seen here, but also the image of 6 unidentified flying objects he believes to be alien spacecrafts arising from the moon and flying in formation, which you can now see here. These images gained such notoriety in their time that for a while a rendering of the 6 spacecraft photograph was featured in a postage stamp in Grenada in 1978. Not only did Adamski claim to have taken a number of other images, which were unfortunately destroyed, he also claimed to have communicated with the aliens aboard these ships using symbols, hand gestures, and even even telepathy. Whether or not he's telling the truth, I personally believe he would make a hell of an entertaining dinner guest.
This footage was captured in 2004 by Mexican Air Force pilots. They'd been on a routine flight when they spotted several glowing objects on their infrared cameras. They couldn't actually see the objects with the naked eye. There were 13 of these objects in total, flying over the skies of southern Campeche state. This is a solid piece of footage right here. At one point we get a nice long look at the glowing objects flying in perfect formation across the sky, and yeah, I don't know what they are. I mean, I'm not an expert or anything, but the pilots also had no idea what they were picking up and tried to pursue the objects, but they just lost track of them. They flew away at incredible speed. The footage wasn't released until 2010, and ever since, it's been cited as one of the most convincing examples of a genuine piece of UFO footage.
And finally, we have some more video footage coming to us straight from the declassifieds. I'm talking about UFO documents released to the public by the Pentagon after so many years of adamantly denying the existence of such phenomena. On January 15th of 2023, cameras were set up to survey an MQ-9 Reaper aircraft when all of a sudden, an unidentified aerial presence was captured on that same video, moving at speeds unreachable by any kind of modern-day aircraft. It was shocking to say the least, but it actually gets crazier. The object was moving so fast that it appeared to actually disrupt the atmosphere surrounding the craft, leaving behind an atmospheric wake in lieu of a jet stream as it disappeared completely into the sky. It sounds pretty unbelievable, but as I said, the footage was literally released by the Pentagon, who have done a complete 180 on their denial of UFOs and have now actually asked the public to come forward and submit any authentic images or encounters with UFOs or UAPs to the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, the ADARO, but I would personally love it if you shared any stories you have down below.
Number 10, James Webb and the Big Bang. Okay, here we go. We'll kick off with some recent news. The James Webb Space Telescope has, of course, been blowing our minds casually for a couple years now. Since his departure up into space back in 2021, James Webb Space Telescope has been showing us these beautiful displays that we never dreamt of ever seeing. Stars so faint and so far away that until this point, well, we had no idea they were even there. For example, last week, the James Webb Space Telescope found new, well, rather old galaxies that look like tiny red spots. Now, by analyzing the light emitted by these galaxies, astronomers can conclude that these galaxies were born 500 to 700 million years after the Big Bang. Now, these galaxies shouldn't be this old, this far away, considering they were born so soon after the Big Bang. Doesn't make any sense. Shouldn't be there. Shouldn't be that old. It's like seeing your grandma younger than you somehow. You're like, no. Timeline-wise, that shouldn't make any sense. What in the Avengers is going on? Are these aliens before the Big Bang? We have no idea. This is a week ago. Comment your thoughts down below. I think it's aliens for sure. Number 9, ancient Sumerians. All right, we'll go old, but not as old as that red dot. The Mesopotamian civilization was formed in what's now Iraq and Kuwait. Now, these civilizations began around the Neolithic Revolution, so somewhere around 12,000 BCE. Now, they're sometimes referred to as the cradle of civilization because, of course, they're old. Mesopotamia was one of the first places to develop agriculture, being right in the middle of Egyptian and the Indus Valley civilizations. And of course, we have to mention these ancient Sumerian tablets. Now, in these tablets, we start to question history. In 1842, British archaeologist Austin Henry Layard discovered ruins of this royal archive. Thousands of tablets made of clay. The world's oldest overdue library books, pretty much. Now, these tablets showed Sumerians engaging in a social night with a scene that depicts a banquet from around 26,000 BC. It was the world's first bender, actually, if I'm being historically accurate. Ancient gods of Mesopotamia were said to have wings and the ability to control all of humanity. These gods were 8 feet tall, or they could have been aliens from another planet. Again, we don't know. Could be gods, could be aliens, could be neither. Drawings of a very tall man, like me, who knows. The Sumerians wrote one of the oldest tales in human history. It's called the Epic of Gilgamesh. So maybe these alien gods inspired them and inspired literature. Who knows? I'd probably write a book if 8 foot tall winged gods landed on my crops for sure. I'd write a journal or two. Number 8, the Madonna with Saint Giovanni. All right, going back to some art for this one. In our history, even in our ancient history, there have been writings and paintings of the, well, potential extraterrestrial variety. As one example shows, the 15th century painting, the Madonna with the Saint Giovanni, depicts the Virgin Mary. Also, in the background of this painting, features some sort of hovering disc-like object that looks, well, it looks a lot like a UFO. No? I don't know. I can't really describe this. This isn't the only example, however, as we've seen other sorts of otherworldly beings in ancient cave paintings and other Sanskrit Scrolls. There are even some people who swear that it's also written in the book of Ezekiel. Aliens are pretty OG. It certainly says something that potential alien sightings have existed since, well, that far back in our human history, so it must either point to proof of alien existence or just humans being obsessed with conspiracies of alien existence. I'm on the latter side. I really want aliens to be real, but I don't think so. I don't know. Number 7, the Nazca Lines. We've all heard of alien crop circles at one point or another. I remember watching the movie Signs when I was younger, and well, then I couldn't sleep for 28 years. That's awesome. That birthday party scene? Never again. Thank you so much. Yeah, that scene. Remember that one? So scary, right? Aliens. Just 200 miles southeast of Peru, we can find hundreds of markings etched into the earth. Now, they're massive pieces of art, almost like crop circles, but, without the farming stuff. More intimidating, more, stone. The biggest ground graffiti spans over 1,200 feet, and you've probably seen it, hopefully not. Many believe that this was an ancient ritual for water. Given its location, well, that theory certainly checks out. Another theory written in 1968 in Eric von Daniken's book, Chariot of the Gods, suggests that ancient Nazca Lines was a site for ancient alien visitors. Like a landing pad almost. Airport, there it is, one of those. Leaving behind knowledge in the form of these massive doodles and, well, technology. Number 6, the USS Nimitz. Alright, I couldn't imagine a worse place to find alien life than in the middle of the ocean. Ugh, that's creepy. Although I will argue that an octopus is completely alien. That's messed up, they shouldn't exist. November 2004, the USS Princeton is a part of the USS Nimitz strike group, and they noted this craft, a UFO, a UAP rather, that's what they're calling them now, UAP. Now at first they saw this craft not in the sky, but under the sea, which is interesting because the Go Fast video that we've always been looking at with that thing whipping through the air seems like it's coming from the ocean. The ocean is very unexplored, so there could be a plethora of aliens just waiting down there. Who knows? I certainly hope not, but who knows? A few moments later, this white tic-tac shaped alien craft came out of the water, and a white tic-tac shaped UAP, always egg-shaped in history, that's always a fun sign. Then 2 FA-18 fighter jets were flying above it, and as earlier reports put the egg 80,000 feet above the water, so of course that's when they had to fly in. They saw it fly up, whip through the air, and then again, they saw it dip into the ocean with no exhaust, no infrared, didn't pick up anything, nothing like that at all. It just shot away at 3 times the speed of sound, underwater, gone. Can aliens go underwater too? That's a little bit OP, it's not fair. Number 5, Oumuamua. This one here has scientists and Reddit users all fighting alike. So just a few years ago, scientists all agreed that we had found an object that was flying through our solar system, and they called it Oumuamua. It was widely agreed upon that it was an interstellar comet that had somehow swung out from another star and ended up near us at a very high velocity. But upon closer examination, they realized that something was propelling this and causing it to accelerate, and this is when the debate started. Avi Loeb, who is a Harvard University astrophysicist, proposed the idea that rather than a comet, this could be an alien probe that is being pushed by a light sail. A light sail is a very wide but extremely thin piece of material that could be accelerating this, space cigar. Other scientists didn't agree with this, fair, I mean more than fair, and instead they believed that this is possibly the hydrogen ice could have been melting off the object in a way that would mimic a rocket or something that can propel it in nature. But in August of last year, Avi wrote in a study that hydrogen ice is too easily heated and it would have melted off long before this, long before it reached our solar system. So really don't know what's propelling this massive space cigar. So we think aliens. Do I think aliens? Maybe. I don't know. I'll never tell. Number 4, Flaming Thing, Texas. I just watched Nope the other day, and the idea of aliens in Texas or aliens over top of a farm, that birthday party scene with the dude walking, it always gives me chills. I don't like it. Aliens love a good crop, apparently. Imagine opening the newspaper though in 1957, and right on the front cover you read, Levelin Flaming Thing brings world knocking at city's door. What does that even mean? How do I react to that? Back in 1957, in of course Levelin, Texas, multiple eyewitness reports began to flood in about an egg-shaped object, again an egg-shaped object, or this circular flash of light. It was just jetting across Levelin skies. One witness recalls the object making a loud humming noise as it flew by, which is different than other accounts that we've heard about, flying eggs in history. But this egg shape keeps coming back up. But this is an encounter where it's been reported as loud with a great rush of wind, which is, again, very different. Believable, but different. It was a loud egg, as opposed to a quiet sea egg. On top of that claim, the witness's car radio began to go haywire as it passed. The radio thing isn't too crazy. I mean, growing up, my computer speakers would always tell me if a text was gonna come in, so it was so odd. I have no idea how that works still to this day. The Air Force ended up commenting on it. They said that this was just a phenomenon caused by electrical storms and not a space egg passing by. But do we buy that? Is that why we're here right now watching this video on Most Amazing Top 10? Giving it a thumbs up, subscribing? We want to believe in aliens, right? Let's do it. Let's move on. Almost there. Number 3, Europa. One of Jupiter's many moons, called Europa, has a red tinge to it. And in 2001, NASA scientists revealed that this tinge, this little Might be possible that alien microbes are responsible for this reddish color. Again, we saw life way out in the galaxy that was also a faint red, so red means dead? I don't know, red means alive? Who knows? The surface of this moon is mostly ice, but it has been shown that it reflects infrared radiation in a bizarre way. This means that something is binding it together, but researchers haven't been able to come up with the correct combination of elements and or compounds to make that data make any sense. But like something's red and there's life. Well, I don't know how science works. That's my best impersonation of science people. There's some bacteria on Earth that can thrive in extreme conditions and that also have that red and brown color, which could potentially be responsible for this color on the moon. Sort of space bacteria, ice bacteria, whatever. There's something living up there. The surface temperature might be too cold for them to survive, but the warmer interior might be where these are all located. Some geological activity on the moon could push them closer to the surface, where they then flash frozen in place. So they're warm under the water, then they go, huh, and they freeze. That's a horrible way to go out. Little space bacteria. Number 2, O'Hare Airport. A UAP spotted in the airport. Worst place to see it, in my opinion. Are you sure it wasn't an airplane? Heard there's a few over there. The day was November 7th and the year was 2006. Flight 446 was gearing up with passengers and luggage, of course, ready to fly to North Carolina from Chicago's O'Hare International Airport. But the flight was a tad delayed due to the hovering metallic craft hovering above all the planes. Yeah, can't really take off when that shiny ball's in the way. 12 United employees and others were just there to fly out. It was 4:15 p.m., so it wasn't at midnight. Nobody was tired. Nobody was delirious. It was clear as day. It was a business day, otherwise. And everyone saw this. Witnesses watched it hover for around 5 minutes before it eventually zipped off back into the sky. It even pushed through clouds, so people say it wasn't a balloon. This report was one of the most read stories on the Chicago Tribune's website. I mean, of course, it's about aliens. But eventually it was deemed a weather phenomenon, because, why, of course it was, wasn't it? The UFO was not seen on the radar, or any radar for that matter, so now we're just gonna go off what people said that many years ago. Although last week we saw 3 balloons and have no idea what they were, so we'll never find out at this rate. And finally, number 1, 2021 UFO. February 21st, 2021, a blogger was using a radio scanner to try and pick up the feed from an aircraft, but they received much more than they ever expected. They intercepted the transmission of the wrong aircraft, but at the right time, it seems. As an American Airlines flight was headed from Cincinnati to Phoenix around 1:20 p.m., the pilot came on the radio to ask a question. Do we have any targets up here? Also, what an odd question to ask while you're flying. The voice continued, we just had something go right over top of us. Now after this, he followed up with, I hate to say this, but it looked like a long cylindrical object that almost looked like a cruise missile type of thing moving really fast over top of us flying. Yeah, not where you want to see anything in the air around you. You don't want to see anything that looks like that in the air. No, that's so scary. Not only were FAA air traffic controllers not able to see any object in the area on their radar scope, but they still haven't been able to identify what that could have been. Just a rogue something flying by. Nice, that's calming. Glad I went flying yesterday. This does happen more often than any of us really know. Like I said, we had 3 balloons pop up and we have no idea where half of them went or what happened to them. But it's possible this object could have been part of some sort of covert military or Navy operation, but it certainly raises some alarm bells. We don't want to do any tests beside a swoosh airline. Probably not dangerous. Dangerous? Probably not safe.
Starting off this list in our number 10 spot, we have Europa. This is actually an icy moon that can be found floating around Jupiter, and it is one that Anonymous has pointed to as being important when it comes to our search for alien life. Europa has been a point of interest for a while after NASA's Galileo Jupiter probe in the 1990s, when it revealed an unusually warm spot in Europa's cold surface. In March of 2014, the Hubble Space Telescope detected what scientists thought might be a plume of water vapor, but the caution turned to cautious excitement and optimism in February of 2016 when the telescope caught another, much larger plume in the same spot. This has led to the creation of the Europa Clipper mission. While this mission doesn't yet have a set date, it will see an orbiter flying to Europa to fly through these plumes in an attempt to see what they are made out of, similar to Enceladus, which we talked about last time, to see if it really is holding the key to life, or maybe life itself. One of the scientists on this Clipper mission, Robert Pappalardo, explained that if there is life on Europa, it almost certainly was completely independent from the origin of life on Earth. That would mean that the origin of life must be pretty easy throughout the galaxy and beyond. In our number 9 spot today, we have exoplanets. This is one of the first first things that was mentioned in a 12-minute long anonymous video that was released back in 2017. Basically, they bring up the point that around 25 years ago, we didn't know that planets existed outside of our solar system. While that seems hard to believe, that is actually basically true, keeping in mind that this video was released a few years ago, in 2017. The first exoplanets, which are what planets outside of our solar system are called, were discovered in 1992, which is super recent. The video then goes on to explain that today we have found over 3,400 exoplanets that orbit other suns. This may seem redundant or unimportant, but this is a really important part of our search for alien life. With the vastness of space, there are so many places that need to be searched, more than we could possibly ever search, so we have to find some place to start, and these planets are the perfect place. It is entirely possible that alien life may thrive off of entirely different things than life as we know it. The things we need to survive might be detrimental to alien life, but how are we supposed to know that when we don't know any aliens? That is why we started our search looking for places with conditions similar to Earth, which we now call habitable planets. Part of a habitable planet's requirements is that they're orbiting a star, but that they aren't too close or too far from it, like we are with the sun. We're in the Goldilocks zone. So what the video is trying to get across is that while 25 years ago we didn't know any, we now know of thousands of planets that might be holding some kind of alien life or existence of past alien life. While we haven't found the proof just yet, we at least have a pretty stellar starting point. In our number 8 spot today, we have Report 13. Okay. I've read quite a few different UFO sighting stories and stories of alleged alien abductions, and this is fully one of the most terrifying that I have ever heard of. Basically, the story starts off in March of 1956 when Air Force Sergeant Jonathan P. Lovett was assisting Major William Cunningham in the White Sands Missile Testing Grounds near Holloman Air Force Base in New Mexico. The pair were heading out searching for debris from a recent rocket test when Major Cunningham heard a loud scream. His first thought was that Sergeant Lovett had been bitten by a snake, so he went around to help aid his partner, and this is when he allegedly saw something he never expected. He recounted seeing the sergeant being dragged away by some long serpentine arm that had wrapped around his legs. Whatever this creature was, it was connected to a hovering silver disc that was in the air about 15 feet away. The major stood there in horror as he watched this creature and the sergeant retreat into the craft, which then rose vertically into the sky. Of course, he radioed for help, and while he was taken to the hospital for observation, search teams were sent out immediately. It wouldn't happen until 3 days later that they would find the body of Sergeant Lovett only 10 miles from the site where he was said to have disappeared from. The autopsy performed on him later also only raised more questions than answers, as his body was severely harmed. So of course there was an investigation that happened, and many people claim this investigation was detailed in a 600-page document labeled Project Grudge Report 13, but the problem with this is that no official information on Report 13 exists, and the US government denies its very existence. Though Grudge Reports 1 through 12 have been declassified along with Report 14, there is no official mention or accounting for Report 13 that exists, and the story solely relies on secondhand accounts of this horrible incident. In our number 7 spot today, we have the UFO footage. This UFO footage is coming from another anonymous video which claims that real UFO footage is always censored and that this video had been previously censored, but they were here to expose the real truth. It is unclear where this UFO video was taken, and at the end of the day, I am no expert in debunking these things, so it's tough to say whether or not it's real, but let's all take a look and you can judge for yourselves. I know that wasn't the most exciting video, but what do we think aliens are going to be doing if they really are visiting us? What do you guys think? Do you think that this video is really showing some sort of UFO? And if you do you think it's aliens or just some sort of secret project that we aren't privy to? I don't know. There's always options, you know? I don't know what to make of anything. In our number 6 spot today, we have the Air Force disappearance. On the night of November 23rd, 1953, near the Canadian-US border, the United States Air Defense Command noticed a blip on their radar where there shouldn't have been one. This was showing that there was some sort of unidentified object that was in restricted airspace over Lake Superior. In response to this, an F-89C Scorpion jet was sent to investigate with 2 crew members. First Lieutenant Felix Moncla was piloting the craft, while Second Second Lieutenant Robert Wilson was observing the radar. Once in the air, the pair had trouble tracking the object, which kept changing its course, which then led to ground control helping to direct them. The jet pursued the unknown object for 30 minutes as it closed in on it at 500 miles per hour. After a while, the two blips on the radar, one being the unknown object and the other being the investigating jet, converged into one point, and then suddenly the radar returned from the F-89 simply disappeared from ground control's radar scope. Shortly after this, the radar blip that was from the unidentified object also veered off and then vanished. The men who were sent to investigate in the jet never returned from the mission, and there was never any wreckage found signifying an accident despite extensive searches. The men and the jet just disappeared completely. It is said that the explanations for the disappearance that have been released throughout the years have changed and flip-flopped in what they say happened. So at this point, no one has any idea what really went on here. In our number 5 spot today, we have the UFO footage part 2, alright? Because this is a part 2, so what else are we doing? We have to include just one more video of what is claimed to be proof of aliens visiting us here on Earth before we get back more into the science-y points. This is another video that was uploaded by a member of Anonymous, and it comes from 2017. The video features a dark sky, but it shows what looks like some sort of aircraft with a few flashing lights, and it seems it is able to basically just hover there. Not long after the video starts, another mysterious UFO seemingly joins the first one, and the two are just seen floating. What do you guys think these could be? I obviously don't know what an alien aircraft would look like. I mean, Jordan Peele's Nope changed everything I thought I once knew, so it's tough to say if this is a realistic example or not. All I know is that if this isn't someone playing a trick and they really saw this in the sky, I have no other possible explanations of what it could be. In our number 4 spot today, we have Titan. Many space agencies have turned their main focus on the search for extraterrestrial life, from advanced intelligent life forms to more primitive and smaller life forms, and that starts with the smallest organisms and microbes. Like I mentioned before, there are preparations being made for the mission to Europa to see what is going on underneath that icy surface, but Jupiter isn't the only one who has some interesting moons. There's another mission also in the works that is focusing on another moon that we haven't yet spoken about, and that is the moon of Saturn called Titan. In 2027, they're aiming to launch the $1 billion Dragonfly mission to this moon in order to analyze the lakes of liquid methane that exist on it. A planetary scientist at Johns Hopkins University who studies alien atmospheres named Sarah Horst has said that they believe Titan has all the ingredients necessary for life, so it certainly is a promising mission. We may have to wait until 2027, but who knows? Maybe we'll find signs even before then with all of the upcoming missions and technological advancements. In our number 3 spot today, we have Frederick Valentich. Frederick was an Australian pilot who disappeared under some unbelievably suspicious circumstances on a training flight on October 21st, 1978. During the flight, he radioed the Melbourne Air Traffic Control to let them know that he was being accompanied by an aircraft that was about 1,000 feet above him, and at the same time that his engine had begun to run roughly. Air Traffic Control responded to him by explaining that there was no known air traffic at that level, and Frederick explained he could see a large unknown aircraft with 4 bright landing lights. He explained the aircraft approached him from the east, and at first thought it was another pilot playing around with him, which, for the record, during flight seems like a terrible time for someone to play a prank, but then he went on to explain that the mysterious aircraft was orbiting him and that it had a green light on it. When Air Traffic Control tried to get further details and asked what kind of an aircraft it was, Frederick responded by saying, quote, "It's not an aircraft." After this, his radio transmission was interrupted by a metallic scraping sound, and this is when all contact was lost. Sea and air search begun, but to no avail. There have been speculations that don't involve alien abduction, such as a staged disappearance, the possibility of Frederick getting confused and flying upside down, and potentially even him taking his own life, but all of these theories have been debunked in some kind of a way, and neither the aircraft or Frederick himself have ever been found. The reason why alien abduction has been the main theory in this case is due to the fact that there were many reported UFO sightings on the same night in the same region as his disappearance. It of course leaves us with more questions than answers, but it's all very interesting and very mysterious. In our number 2 spot today, we have Oumuamua. I think I said that right, but honestly, every time I say this, somebody tells me I say it wrong, so you know what? I don't know, man. I don't speak alien. This is one piece of evidence that actually has scientists fighting over what is going on with it. A few years ago, scientists all agreed that we had found an object that was flying through our solar system, and they called it Oumuamua, or however you want to say that, and it was widely agreed that it was an interstellar comet that had swung out from around another star. But upon closer examination, they realized that something was propelling it and causing it to accelerate, and this is when the debate started, because they just don't really know why. Avi Loeb, who's a Harvard University astrophysicist, proposed the idea that rather than a comet, this could be an alien probe that is being pushed by a light sail, which is a very wide but extremely thin piece of material that accelerates by being pushed by solar radiation. Other scientists didn't agree with this and instead said that it's possible that hydrogen ice could have melted off of the object in a way that would mimic a rocket engine or something of that nature, but in August a couple years ago, Avi wrote a study that hydrogen ice is too easily heated and it would have melted off long before it reached our solar system. I guess this is all to say that we just have to wait it out while the scientists debate and gather more evidence to really know what's going on behind this one. In our number one spot today, we have radio signals. Alright, basically we're getting radio signals from somewhere, but we just aren't quite sure what exactly is going on there. It started in 2007 when we began getting what are called fast radio bursts, and they are a totally mysterious phenomena to scientists. These bursts are only a few milliseconds long, but they emit more energy than the sun does in 24 hours, which is just a statement that my brain struggles to comprehend. All of this is already super cool and interesting, but here's an even crazier thing about them. The main thing we know about these bursts is that they are coming from outside of the Milky Way. They're coming from outside of our own galaxy. Space is cool, but it's also terrifying. This obviously has led a lot of experts to believe that it could be coming from an advanced civilization that is quite far away, and they may be trying to contact us, but we just don't have the technology to interpret the signals. Maybe one day scientists will figure out a way to accept whatever message it is they are trying to send, or maybe one day we'll get a visit from one of them and they'll be mad at us for not answering their messages. I don't know, it's all super cool and incredibly interesting. Starting off in our number 10 spot, we have organic material. In an anonymous video, there was a point that was made about something that we are actually now watching happen in real time, and that is the mission to Mars for the Perseverance rover that is currently there digging around in the soil. The video stated that Mars may hold signs of an ancient environment that may have been favorable to microbial life. Well, that is exactly true, and the reason the rover is there at all. While Mars' thin atmosphere is unable to shield that planet from the high amounts of radiation coming from space now, it is thought that the atmosphere did once act as a better shield, and that the environment of Mars may have once been a great host for life, which is exactly why this mission is so important. This is all interesting because when this anonymous video was first released, it was still years away from the Perseverance mission actually taking place. But now, just a few months ago in September of 2022, there was a huge announcement made in this search for alien life. Recently, the rover has been searching at the site of an ancient river delta, trying to find any clues that might give us insight into the past lives of the planet, and that is when it made its most important discovery so far. A few recently collected samples have been confirmed to include organic matter. This means that the Jezero crater, which likely was once the home to a lake that the delta emptied into, well, it would have potentially had a habitable environment about 3.5 billion years ago. These organic molecules are supremely important because they represent the building blocks of life, like carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. And while this discovery doesn't just flat out confirm the past existence of life on the planet, it is one of the strongest clues we've ever received, which is absolutely unbelievable. In our number 9 spot today, we have the planetary system. In an anonymous video, whoever the person is speaking, they draw attention to a nearby star called TRAPPIST-1. The video didn't go too much into detail about this, but I'm here to do that now, so we can all know what they're talking about. While TRAPPIST-1 is a star, the revelation that the video spoke about was that this star has an entire solar system of Earth-like planets. This discovery first came in 2017, and upon further research in 2018, it was revealed that some of the planets just may harbor even more water than Earth does. Some of the planets are a little too close to the star, so the water is more atmospheric water vapor. The ones in the middle have liquid water like us, and the furthest ones have ice. TRAPPIST-1 is now the most thoroughly known planetary system apart from ours, which is kinda cool. While the anonymous video made it seem like there was a full-blown advanced alien civilization living in this solar system, there still might be potential for some form of microbial life that we just haven't quite found yet, and that is very cool. You know, we gotta start somewhere. Microbial life first, little green dudes next. In our number 8 spot today, we have cyanobacteria. For around 2 decades, Dr. Richard Hoover has been studying meteorites that were found in Antarctica, and in 2011 he claimed that he and his team had found evidence of ancient bacteria from colonies that thrived on comets, moons, and other planets. The astrobiologist said that they were able to make this discovery through the use of the most advanced microscanning technology in the entire world. Dr. Hoover sliced open these meteorites and discovered what they call the remains of cyanobacteria, also known as blue-green algae. This type of algae is said to have a unique quality and the ability to thrive even in some of the harshest conditions, which is necessary when talking about surviving the extreme environment some other planets hold, as well as just space in general. Dr. Hoover said that while some of the bacteria he had found was similar to those on Earth, he said that some of the others were completely alien. He said, quote, "Neither I nor other experts who have seen the evidence have any idea what these creatures might be. I believe these findings indicate that life is not restricted to Earth, but is broadly distributed even outside our solar system." In our number 7 spot today, we have the FBI documents. One self-proclaimed member of Anonymous took to the internet to discuss some important FBI documents that are apparently unclassified, just sitting there on the website waiting for people to take a look at their contents. The video claims that the document suggests that we've not only been visited by aliens from space, but also beings from other dimensions. The video does explain that the document didn't originate from within the FBI and rather from a university head, but that the FBI treated the document with the utmost importance, which is certainly interesting. It is also very important to note, however, that this document was sent in 1947. Not sure if that makes the claims more or less likely or credible, but the timing of it definitely seems important, at least to me. While this is one of the things that you have to draw your own conclusions from, in the video it is mentioned that while we are arguing whether or not supposed UFO or alien sightings have really taken place here on Earth or in space, there are real instances of extraterrestrial beings visiting us, but we're just too focused on the debate to open our eyes and see for ourselves. In our number 6 spot today, we have the light shifts. In the latter half of 2015, a Penn State astronomer named Jason Wright explained that there were pretty erratic and spontaneous shifts in the light that was coming from a newly discovered star. The star sits about 1,280 light years away from us on Earth, and these shifts were very similar to as if something was passing in front of our view of the star briefly before passing through. Scientists weren't able to connect this to any exoplanets or anything like that, which we could understand, and this is what led Jason to quite an interesting theory. He stated that it is possible that the shifts are caused by massive objects passing in front of the star in a kind of orbit, like an array of massive satellites or a similar kind of structure, like the type of thing that could be produced by an intelligent and civilized life form. Again, like many things, it's just a theory, but a very compelling one at that. In our number 5 spot today, we have the 2023 sighting. The sign of alien life is in the form of a video, and this video was taken very recently on January 22nd this year, 2023. The video was posted to Reddit by a user called MaxKeller96, and with the video they gave some context. Quote, "My sister, dad, and I were out hiking near Picket Post when one of us noticed something glimmering near the mountain, so we stopped to look at it. All I could really make out is that it was a small bright dot in the sky. After a good 15 seconds of staring at it just silently hanging in the air trying to figure out WTF it was, I started recording. Sorry it's shaky AF, I could barely see my phone screen and was trying to get a good look at it with my own eyes. It then dropped 2 flare looking things, though my sister swears she counted at least 3, and then it instantly sped off, heading southish. Up until that point, I thought it might have been a helicopter or a drone, as there's a lot of military Air Force base stuff out here, but there is no effing way anything can accelerate that fast. We all lost sight of it nearly instantly after the video cuts, and we were all properly freaked the F out about it. I've replayed the video probably 100 times and tried showing it to everyone I know, and no one had any idea what it could be other than a super high-end drone. If you think you know, please let me know. After watching the video also probably 100 times, I can definitely say that I had no idea what they saw that day, because I also really don't think it's a drone. Also, I just have to say that this video even gathered people together on Reddit. And that's no easy feat. Redditors are ruthless and often very skeptical, and still people are pretty on board and confused over what this could have been. In our number 4 spot today, we have the etheric planet. There is a claim that not only have we been visited by some sort of extraterrestrial beings, but that these beings that have apparently been visiting us are coming not from a planet as we think of it, but rather some sort of etheric planet that interpenetrates with our own, but we're just unable to perceive. Apparently, if you're a student of esoteric matters, these concepts will make a lot more sense to you, or so this anonymous video claims. These alien beings are apparently able to make a conscious decision to enter our plane, and in that same respect, they are able to make a decision to disappear from our view. They are visiting us as they are thinking about settling here on our plane, and that they are coming here peacefully. During these visits, they are also said to have technology that would destroy any sort of attack made on them, so it is advised that if they make themselves visible to us, we do not attack or make them feel threatened. I'm not so sure about this one, but at the end of the day, I am certainly no student of esoteric matters, so maybe it's just something that my brain cannot comprehend with the knowledge I currently have, you know? I'm on one plane, I gotta get on another level. In our number 3 spot today, we have the witness testimony. Speaking of alien visits, another person that Anonymous pointed out as a good source to listen to was a man named Dr. Brian O'Leary, who is a former NASA astronaut and Princeton physics professor. Apparently, he stated that there is abundant evidence that we are being contacted, that civilizations have been monitoring us for a very long time, and that their appearance is bizarre from any type of traditional, materialistic Western point of view. He also apparently said that these visitors use the technologies of consciousness, they use droids, they use co-rotating magnetic disks for their propulsion systems, which seems to be a common denominator of the UFO phenomenon. I obviously have no idea how I could possibly substantiate these claims, but they certainly are interesting regardless of what you personally believe. This could, of course, just be nonsense in order to stir up the masses, but it could also be someone who's finally telling us all the truth, but maybe we're just a little too skeptical to listen. In our number 2 spot today, we have Enceladus. This small moon is often referenced when people begin to discuss the possibilities of alien life, and for fair reason. It was discovered that this moon has hydrothermal processes going on underneath its crust. To us non-scientists, that means next to nothing, but what if I said that that means that it just might have all of the requirements for life, and that it is becoming a greater possibility that we might actually find microbial life there. Basically, this moon has an icy shell for a surface and then a rocky interior, but between these two layers is a warm ocean, and this ocean is where scientists think life is most likely to be. This discovery came almost accidentally when the Cassini orbiter arrived to Saturn in 2005, and it found water plumes shooting out of the cracks in the surface of the moon, which made scientists realize that it just may be geologically active. Through more research, and by flying the orbiter through the water, by the time 2015 rolled around, scientists knew that it was holding all of the keys to life. While this moon was never the original focus of research, it quickly took over with its very exciting potential. In our number 1 spot today, we have the Venus Cloud. A couple years ago, in September of 2020, astrobiologists everywhere were excited and skeptical of some new potential evidence that had been found in the upper clouds of Venus. The new findings were pointing to the potential of the presence of phosphine in these clouds. Phosphine is a rare and usually poisonous gas that on Earth is basically always met with the presence of living organisms. Venus hasn't really been the top of the list of choices for finding potential life due to its surface temperature and pressure and the sulfuric acid clouds, but this evidence could prove to say something otherwise. 2 separate telescopes were able to pick up the signatures of phosphine in a cloud that had a similar temperature and pressure to Earth, and while this isn't concrete evidence of space bugs, it will at least be a reminder that we should be continuing to look for life, even in the most unlikely places. And hey, maybe it is space bugs. I don't know.